Hello you guys, Dani here. I am so excited because today we are wrapping up the majors in our Mystic Masters deep dive. So we are going to be going from the star to the world and then on next to the minor arcana. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So let's go ahead and start with the star. So this original etching was water nymph Hippocrene. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, feel free to correct me. I never delude anyone into thinking that I know how to say anything. Anyway, this is by Philip Gale. So immediately when I saw this water nymph, I immediately thought of the star. So I did add the star in there, but the stance, the water pouring from this jug, which looks very similar to the RWS, it just sparked me right away because it felt like she was looking upward into the stars, kind of realizing that she wasn't alone, that things were looking up, that she was kind of adding to the growth. And with this whole thing, I kind of wanted to add almost like stars at her feet. So you'll see these golden kind of X's at the bottom. I just wanted it to feel almost like she was surrounded, but also kind of incorporate all the elements there, since this is air, right? We have our Aquarius here. I wanted to also bring in that earthy feel kind of around her. The stars are the fire, right? They are balls of fire. But it also has the water here, and it is this airy feeling. I almost wanted her to feel like she was sort of stepping out into the earth and onto the clouds, into the stars. So with the star, it was basically just seeing that image and immediately transporting me to this one. So let's go ahead and flip on to the moon. So this is Diana. This is possibly by George Pence. Sometimes these older ones they don't really know. There's little like notes or etchings on the actual painting. This one says possibly George Pence. So as you can see, aside from our, what I like to call a crawfish, because I'm Cajun, our lobster or our crawfish kind of coming out of the water here, we have that, but otherwise we kind of separate. But I wanted this moon to feel like it was in the darkness, right? That's why I kept it in blues and purples, but then had this glowing moon in her hand. I just felt like the way she was positioned, the look that she has on her face, that kind of tilted to the side. It's like what you know and what you don't know. There is a mystery, but this moon kind of shines, and as much as it shines, it can guide you forward even in the dark. And I really felt that from this. I went ahead and added all the little black dots, these little black sort of stars all around, and then gold around this kind of glowing moon, just to show that radiance kind of coming off. I wanted it to feel dark and mysterious, right? And then, of course, we have Diana herself, which I didn't know, but also has ties to Hecate as well as the Egyptian goddess Neith. And Diana is often thought about as the triple goddess, as much as Hecate, because it is like Diana the huntress and Diana the moon and Diana of the underworld, right? So I also thought that was very fitting. And I did get to learn a lot. As much as I knew about Greek and Roman mythology and some gods and goddesses, like I really was able to learn quite a bit more, kind of add these things on to my knowledge. So I thought that was really interesting. But this moon, just the whole vibe, the whole feel of it, there were a bunch of different lunas and moon goddesses that I did look through at this time, but there was just something about the positioning and the way that she was holding the moon that just really made me feel like she embodied this card for me. So there is the moon. So on to the sun, we have Soul. This is by Hans Siebold Behem. And we have Apollo literally holding the sun in his hands. And I thought that the sun, because it had a face, which I was so excited about, I was like, oh yes, there's my sun. And I mean, look that booty though. Look that booty though. I absolutely loved this picture. Right away, I was just like, this is the feeling of the sun. It makes you, at least for me, it just makes me like happy. It makes me smile. It makes me feel like there is something coming into this world, which is very similar to the RWS. You have this little happy baby here with this nice orangey red flag, which I kind of tried to replicate here on this side, how this kind of took up most of the area. I wanted that to be here as well, because we also have kind of these triangles, which makes me think of fire in general. But we have Apollo, like I said, the sun god. He is a protector. He is the god of light. And he was kind of made, he kind of brings growth, right? A lot of times it's like the growth of a new city or things like that. And so he really does embody the sun. I mean, he is the sun god. So I just really thought that picturing him would be what I wanted to do anyway. And then I also added the sun symbol here. Like I said, the colors were a big thing for the sun and the moon. I wanted to show this contrast. I wanted it to be just immediately distinctive when you saw the sun and moon. It's like all the oranges and yellows and reds, and then all the purples and grays and blues. So I just really wanted these to be very distinct. So there we have our sun. So now on to Judgment. So this is the fall of Phaethon. This is possibly by Nicholas Beatriset or by a Michelangelo. I don't have the last name. I believe it might have been cut off. But this is about Phaethon, who attempted to drive the chariot of the sun. So he was this guy here was the son of Helos, and he was promised kind of any wish, trying to kind of prove that he was the son of this god. And so he wished to drive the chariot of the sun across the earth, but he drove too close and it started to catch fire and burn. He couldn't control the horses, and so Zeus threw down a lightning bolt and struck him down to earth. And I felt that the story alone really spoke of that judgment, where it's like you were counseled not to do this thing, because Helos is said to have tried to dissuade his son from doing this, but he insisted, and he couldn't do it. He was warned against it, and then judgment was brought down that he just couldn't continue. So not only in the story do we have kind of someone making that judgment call and thrusting him back to earth, but we also can see a very similar image. I'm gonna air quote that, because we do have this kind of figure in the sky. We have an angel with a trumpet. Here we have Zeus with a firebolt, right? With a lightning bolt. We have people kind of either going to be raised up or left. And here we have someone falling back to earth. And down here, you can see, I have kind of scratched out, he's looking down to earth. This guy is looking down. And they have a blindfold over their eyes, whereas these are all looking upwards with no blindfold. And I thought that it really spoke to judgment in the way that I see it. It's like when you see these things, when things come to light, that you have maybe made a mistake, that you have done wrong, you can either choose to see it and be redeemed, or you can choose to ignore it and continue forward in this destructive path. And I thought that that really spoke to what I was seeing here and how I felt about judgment. Now you also have all this like darkness and chaos kind of coming in this like red kind of ringed place here, and it really made me think of the red rings kind of on this angel, but it also really made me feel like the anger of the gods, right? Like what it does when you make choices in your life and how you kind of live. So I thought that showing this kind of chaos, this kind of dark sky opening up to the red, and then kind of the clearness and that decision being made and kind of thrusting them down was just really important. And while I struggled at first with this card, it ended up being probably one of my favorite major arcana, simply because of the way that it felt and what I went through creating this card. So there, my friends, is Judgment. Now to the world with another one from our friend George Pence. I loved his work. And this is astrology. Now, I made quite a few changes to astrology. There was a little cherub angel here, and some other backgrounds. I altered the stars a bit, but astrology was the first card I ever did. I found her and I was like, this is a world card to me. So I got rid of what didn't feel right, and then I created her. She just really felt like she had the world in her hands. She had it under control. She was a guardian of this journey, similar to our figure here. I wanted to make sure that I carried on the purple. And we have the blues of the surrounding, the greens around here. But she really did feel like she was that guardian, and she had been there, done that. She was there to help. Then we also have her pointing upward. We have her feet firmly on the ground. It just made me feel like she was rooted firmly, but also looking at the higher purpose, right? Like she is realistic and grounded, but she is not going to stop dreaming. She is going to continue this journey. One end is another one's beginning. And so this was the first card I ever did, and when I saw it and realized what I had created, I just wanted to create more. I just wanted to keep going. What else could I see, right? How else could I do this? I don't know what possessed me to start with the world, but it just sort of felt right. And I went from the world to the Fool instead of from the Fool to the world. And so it was almost a backwards journey, but it just felt right. So I did add this quote into my guidebook, but when I read it, it just encompassed everything that I thought about the world. And this is by Corinne Kenner. She wrote Tarot and Astrology, and it said, "We are made of energy, and energy is never created or destroyed. It's just transformed." And that's really what I feel like the world is kind of that transformation. Like, you don't stop your journey. It never truly ends. It is just formed into something new, and you get to start all over. Just like energy is never destroyed or created, neither is your journey of learning and growth. So I thought that was a perfect sentiment to the world, and had to share. So I hope that you've enjoyed the major arcana, you guys. We will see you back to start on the minors. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. As always, we would love to hear what you think of these cards. Is there stuff that you expanded upon? Something that you see that maybe I didn't mention? Anything you have to add. We always love to read these comments, and so feel free to drop them down below. If you are looking for a copy of Mystic Masters, the links are down below, as well as links to my Instagram and Etsy, how to book a reading through Fat Readers. All those things are in the description box. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you see so fit. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next round. I'm sending you all my love. Mwah! Later, Gators.